Secret government plot to kill the internet? I don't believe it.
A few moments later.
It is literally George Orwell's 1984. We just stepped into it.
Right now, we are witnessing the beginning of the end of the internet. The UK, Australia, the European Union, and the USA have all coordinated a global effort to control the internet. With Spotify ID verifications, YouTube verifications, adult site.
Wow. Louisiana law now requires us to put in place a process for verifying the age of users who connect to our site from Louisiana. The privacy and security of the community is top priority. Thank you. It's always about protecting people, isn't it?
Verifications, Reddit verifications, and even VPNs potentially.
UK government warns promoting use of VPNs could attract fines. So you can no longer accept sponsorships from VPNs. Perfect.
Being illegal now. It seems like anything deemed unsafe by the government is now locked behind an age check. In the UK, websites like Reddit and X now legally have to ask for a picture of your face or a copy of your ID. And the US and the European Union are now set to pass similar laws, as we witness in front of our eyes a very quick coordinated attack on the internet.
Yeah.
To understand why this is really happening now, who is coordinating this, and why they're really doing this in the first place,
I wonder who is coordinating this.
To look at what's been secretly happening in the UK, as this is where it all started. Now, while ostensibly in place to protect the kids, the UK has introduced the Online Safety Bill, going into action at the end of July 2025. The government claims that this is just for kids to not watch adult content, but this act has been making headlines for other reasons instead.
No, you see, you gotta upload your driver's license to Spotify or else we won't be able to protect the kids.
First, there's the insanely wide net the UK government has thrown over the entire internet.
It's
We've
insane.
got the obvious stuff blocked now, like adult content sites, but it's extended way past that.
And it will.
Spotify users have been enraged.
It's always the slippery slope. As soon as they start going down this way, it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. You know when my information was never stolen? When I didn't have to put any of it online. Crazy.
Spotify has confirmed the checks would extend to explicit music on the platform. And what's more is that the platform will also ban users that fail the checks, or when Spotify thinks its users are underage. Discord is already asking for ID now to see channels that the server owner deemed as 18+.
This is how 100% how they actually control the internet. And what ends up happening here is that people end up saying, I don't want to do this. So they stop using these services and they stop going online. I mean, ostensibly, it's a good thing. But at the end of the day, it won't be a good thing because a large portion of jobs in that are required to be online. Your banking is required to be online. All of it is required to be online nowadays. So it's crazy.
Content. YouTube is planning on asking for ID beginning in August.
Over the next few weeks, YouTube will begin testing its age checking tools on a small group of US users. Rather than initially demanding to see a copy of your ID, the system will start by attempting to guess your age based on your YouTube usage. While YouTube is obviously not going to provide a detailed breakdown of the sort of things that might flag you as a teen, it attempts to explain in broad strokes. We will use AI to interpret a variety of signals that help us determine whether a user is over or under 18. These signals include the type of videos the user is searching for. Crazy, man. That is crazy.
AI will look at the content that you watch and then try to decide whether you're a kid or not. Watch too many Minecraft videos? You better watch out. At this point though, it should be pretty obvious that the measures are full of problems, the least being how useless it is for actually protecting children in the first place. Everyone under the age of 40 already knows how to get past any of this stuff. As long as at least one country somewhere in the world doesn't have these measures, using a VPN will get you past the age check. In fact, we've already seen this in action.
I said this a long time ago that eventually they will ban VPNs. VPNs will not be allowed to be used. I think they're already banned in China, I think. So the rest of the world, that's just what they're becoming. And I'm surprised it's not in Canada yet. I know there is a huge war on free speech right now and a huge war on supposedly quote unquote Trumpism, which is, I guess, maybe not working out as well as some people had hoped. But the fact of the matter is that that is tied to free speech, freedom of expression, and everything else that goes along with it. I don't think it's necessarily tied to the person. I think they're trying to pin the bad stuff on him And that's why they're calling it that, because they saw what happened in Canada. All you have to say is Trump's name in Canada, and people just they get all mad at you, and whatever. And it's sure. I mean, he's a politician. At the end of the day, they're going to do good and bad things. That's just the nature of the business of being a politician. And but they're trying to equate the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and everything else. They're trying to equate it with him and saying that it's a bad thing to have free speech. And I think that's exactly what they're doing, and that's what they're going to do in Canada anyway.
The download numbers on various app stores have been going crazy. Proton VPN, just one of the many available options, saw a 1,800% increase in downloads.
Shocker.
When it came into effect.
Shocker.
And it isn't the only option either. Lots of people have found success circumventing the checks with random pictures or even screenshots from video games. So it's hard to see how the checks will ever be able to deal with AI generated faces, or really any picture or 3D model of a face. It means that anyone who actually wants to get past the blocks, including children, easily can. The UK government knows this and already knew this before they passed the act.
Of course.
In fact, part of the act bars websites from suggesting a VPN as a way around it. So who are the only people that don't know about VPNs, that won't know how to install and use them? Well, older people, people who have been left behind by technology already. They're the ones who will blindly give away their identity.
If nobody else has noticed this trend, I've certainly at least noticed this trend where there's a war between, they are generating a war between the older generation and the younger generation. And it is by design. They want the younger people to hate the older people. It's okay to scam them because they're idiots and stuff like that. That's at least from that's what I see.
ID and pictures of their face. Most will assume it's government guaranteed and safe, but
Yeah.
of course it really isn't.
It's not.
Instead, the law changes open the door to a set of corporate contractors. Unknown until now, internet
Whoa, what's this? The Online Safety Act is forcing Brits to hand over personal data to unregulated overseas. Of course it is. Of course. The age verification services used by social media platforms include a company funded by a Trump-supporting billionaire and a firm set up by former Israeli intelligence officers.
users are expected to share their most confidential information with these companies just to use the internet. So who are these companies? Well,
Okay.
let's take a look at Persona, the company that Reddit
Sure.
and OpenAI have chosen to conduct their checks. Taken directly from their privacy policy, Persona securely stores all photos of identity
Securely.
documents you upload, photos of your face that you upload, and data from scans of facial geometry. Persona also fails to tell people when verifying that third-party vendors can also have access to
So in other words, they're basically selling your facial data and all that. Oh my God, man. It is literally George Orwell's 1984. We just stepped into it.
all of this, meaning they give it to a ton of other companies. What's more, those claims about immediately destroying the data are really nonsense.
Yeah, of course.
Privacy policy indicates that they don't even
Or-
get rid of it.
Persona will permanently destroy data from scans of facial geometry extracted from the photos of your face that you upload upon completion of verification or within 3 years. Cool.
For a whole 3 years. So if they make you verify your
Insane.
page again, the timer resets. And that 3 years is only if the government doesn't explicitly tell them to keep it, in which case they will.
Yeah.
So just by looking at one of these companies tells you that they can keep it for pretty much however long they want. Then there's the fact that it doesn't really matter what these companies say anyway. They routinely underinvest in cybersecurity, which leads to massive data breaches all of the time. Then millions of people's data gets sold to the highest bidder. Literally days before this act even came into effect, the women's dating app T also had a massive data breach.
Yep.
The app was designed for women to gossip about men in a safe space, enforced through mandatory facial
Yeah, I heard about this. Sometimes you get what you fucking deserve.
verification for users. T said in their privacy policy that they deleted all the verification images immediately.
No, they didn't.
However, when the breach happened,
Yeah.
tens of thousands of these images were stolen and leaked online. And it's just been one of the many data breaches this year. You clearly can't trust these corporate contractors, especially these small shady companies, which have suddenly been given a guaranteed middleman spot by this new law. So because the government says so, people using the internet are now forced to give their ID to a selection of various companies, who
Yeah.
will share it with whomever they like and delete it when they feel like, if at all. In many people's opinions, it's the government itself that should be under scrutiny. They're the
Of course. And that actually reminds me. I wonder if they'll get you to scan your face so you can go into the woods here in Nova Scotia and the rest of the Maritimes. You gotta scan if you scan your face on this app and go into the woods, then it's totally fine. And we know everybody that went in there and it's totally safe to go in. Oh, man.
Ones who should be treated like criminals mainly because so many of them are actually criminals. There's been far too many scandals to count recently with Parliament.
Yep.
You've got the fraudulent PPE contracts, the expenses scandal, the breakdown of the S&P in Scotland for financial crime, just to name a few. And so if anyone should be getting monitored and surveilled, it's the people who wrote this law in the first place. Although we've just shown what almost everyone already knew about this.
Sure.
That this part of the Online Safety Act is useless because of VPNs. It's malicious because of the potential for data breaches, and hypocritical because of who it targets. And they already knew this before they passed it, it's just too obvious. So what's the real reason behind all of this? Well, a key aim of the Online Safety Act seems to be to control what adults view on the internet, based on their understandable hesitation to give away their picture and ID. You can draw this conclusion from what they've been using it to block. Lots of subreddits surrounding adult content were blocked by the act, of course, but
The thing is, it is entirely the point to get people to stop going online, stop getting other opinions and other points of view besides the ones that the government give you. They win either way. They either get the facial recognition, so that way if you have a dissenting opinion or a dissenting voice, or you say something that they don't agree with, they can come after you. And if you choose to opt out of the system, well, then you're not getting the other points of view anyway. So whenever we tell you to do something, you have no idea what else is out there, what other options or anything else is out there. And like I said before, I think they're going to start using, and I use this term very loosely, they're going to start using Trumpism, which is an analogous to sort of the freedom and the Constitution of the United States. Well, people that live in the United States see it as a huge act of protection for them, and that people outside of it see it as something that they wish that they had in their own country, because that alone protects the people in the country from tyrannical overreach and stuff like that. Obviously, there's cases where it's circumvented and stuff, and money does talk, obviously. But I think they want to prevent that sort of general attitude from getting out there.
lots of other ones were also caught in the crossfire.
They don't want to see people in their own country looking to the States and being envious of the things that they have and saying, why don't we have that?
Stop smoking and stop drinking subreddits have been reported as being blocked to some users. And you'd think the UK government would want kids to have access to those resources, especially considering they let the big companies get them all addicted years ago. Other potentially sensitive content is now being gated off. People have reported that X is blocking footage from immigration protests in the UK.
Of course.
A speech from a member of parliament was also blocked. It was about the horrific grooming gang scandal that's been rocking the UK recently. This is a clear example of harm being done to minors, yet the government chose to block people from discussing it. It's also been reported that posts about Gaza and Ukraine have been blocked as well. The danger lies in this escalating out of control. You give the government an inch and they'll take a mile, as we saw during COVID.
The act allowed the government discretionary power to limit or suspend public gatherings, to detain individuals suspected. Insane stuff that happened. Now, I think most people, if we did not, first of all, I think without the internet, I don't think the pandemic would have actually happened, because from the things that I've read before, they tried to do it with the, I think it was either the swine flu in like 2001 or 2004, I think, but there wasn't enough of a social media. There wasn't enough of a public gathering space like Twitter at the time to actually have one sort of cohesive presence to be able to send out the same message. So I think, like I said, I think they tried it before and it didn't work. And now with the fact that we had social media, I think it was able to work then as well.
And this law sets the precedent of handing over the power of censorship to algorithms. Algorithms and AI built and designed to follow broad guidelines dictated by the people in power. This is so dystopian, and yet nobody realizes the true extent of how...
Do you think the Online Safety Act is not being treated seriously enough and is ignored by most people? Yes, of course it is. People are only going to take notice of it when it hits on March 16th, and by then the damage will already have been done. Yeah, of course.
Bad the situation really is, as it matches up with other UK laws and measures designed to restrict people's freedoms.
Of course.
The UK and Apple have been in a massive battle for years over privacy.
Yep.
The UK is demanding that Apple let them have a backdoor into people's messages and private information.
They don't want people talking about anything that they don't want them talking about. I remember I was recently looking into propaganda from just from the like World War II and that. And during World War II, there was the I don't think it was I think it was there was some pamphlets or something that were handed out that said like, don't talk about the war with your neighbors, don't talk about the war with your friends at the local pub. It was like, it was all of this really, really heavy propaganda that if people didn't have another opinion to look towards, they just saw, oh yeah, okay guys, we shouldn't talk about this. Okay, there's some crazy people out there that are going to have really weird ideas about what's going on, so don't talk about it at your pub, don't talk about it at your house, don't talk about it with your neighbors and stuff like that. It was really crazy when you look back at that kind of stuff. And that's essentially what they're doing again now, is they don't want people talking.
Or doesn't even exist, and yet the UK is insisting that Apple break their promises and have it installed. Meanwhile, they've done the same for WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption as well, despite the fact that nobody can read those messages, not even WhatsApp, allegedly. Now, lots of tech companies may follow suit in pushing the UK on this one. At least you'd hope so. As I mean, when you've got Meta of all companies fighting for data protection against your own government, you know you're cooked. The measures are likely to play right into the hands of populists like Nigel Farage, and it could very likely win in the next election, as it's such a terrible, awful look for Labour and Starmer to force this through despite the immense backlash. All Labour have done is dig the hole further and further, with how deeply the public no longer trust the government of England anymore. It's so bad that members of parliament now label those who don't agree with this bill as siding with predators.
Yeah, see, that's what they'll do. They'll say that people that oppose this sort of thing are bad, evil people. But then again, that goes again to the same thing, that they're just trying to get rid of the dissenting opinion. It has nothing to do with anything else but just trying to control what you think and what you say.
By opposing the Online Safety Act, calling people Jimmy Savile supporters.
Verifying your age keeps a child safe, keeps children safe in our
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Country. And I say to people like Nigel Farage, who want to turn the clock back and wants to just overturn these regulations, every time he does this and says it, he makes children more exposed, more susceptible to dangerous content.
Insane.
It's a really disturbing, stupid attempt to silence criticism, which everyone can see through. And the worst part is that this isn't just the license-happy UK nanny state. This is a coordinated, choreographed effort by major Western governments to limit internet freedom. They've wanted this for years, and it's finally coming to fruition.
Yep,
Just
of course.
take a look at some of the other measures they're drafting across the democratic world. In the European Union, under Denmark's 2025 presidency, they've revived the chat control legislation, which aims to mandate client-side scanning of all private messages, even on encrypted platforms like WhatsApp and Signal, all to ostensibly detect CSAM. But what this is really doing is effectively ending end-to-end encryption and opening the door to mass surveillance and systemic security vulnerabilities, which is all part of their wider Protect EU initiative, which seeks to enable lawful decryption of private communications by 2030. Then we have Australia, arguably the most aggressive Western country when it comes to taking...
They're absolutely... Australia is just cooked, man. They are cooked.
away internet freedom, as their e-safety commissioner has sweeping powers to now demand content takedowns within 24 hours, including posts on private messaging apps, and non-compliance of this can lead to millions in fines, as Australia has criminalized end-to-end encryption resistance. Under the Toller Act, the government can legally force tech companies to build backdoors into encrypted apps like WhatsApp and Signal, and gag orders prevent them from telling the public, and they too are also pushing for facial recognition technology to enforce age verification. Also that they can ensure who uses social media and who doesn't. Even going as far as to apparently ban kids from social media. In the US, we have the Kids Online Safety Act, which gives the government and state attorneys general power to control online content that could be deemed harmful to minors. But like all of these governments, the language is vague. It's clearly just a front to control and regulate more of the internet. And the US is even trying to push through the Screen Act.
This is what this reminds me of in terms of the level of control. If anybody remembers when World of Warcraft, I've used this analogy many times, but it's so relevant. the Chinese government is against showing images of death and stuff like that. They're against showing images of, like, you know, like Halloween skeletons and that kind of stuff. And I remember when World of Warcraft was first opened up in China, they actually had to change the models for the undead race because it showed too much like death and decay. So they had to like smooth it out and stuff like that. And that was a form of, not a form of censorship necessarily, but a way of protecting their people. And that's what all of this stuff reminds me of. It all reminds me of that, and the fact that how China would do something like that, which made absolutely no sense. And they will probably cite, oh, for, you know, ancestral reasons, we don't want to show this kind of stuff. But in reality, it was to sort of, it was a form of censorship.
Requiring comprehensive age verification for all users on the internet, potentially ending anonymous browsing in the US as a whole. It's clear governments around the world are suddenly in unison, quietly and rapidly coordinating to take unprecedented control of the internet under the guise of just protecting the children. It's like the Simpsons meme of saving the children. Ireland is now proposing a law that will allow the government to scan your private messages directly on your phone before you even send them. Not by breaking encryption, but by implementing client-side scanning, which means the government could get access to your messages before they're encrypted straight from your device. And the UK is already a step ahead on that. In the Online Safety Act, they give Ofcom the power to mandate the same kind of invasive surveillance, scanning your messages before they even leave your phone. Something straight out of Minority Report. And this isn't hypothetical, this is now reality. We are currently witnessing a horrifying force to control the internet, and this should alarm everyone watching this video right now, as the internet as you know it is being taken away from you in a coordinated global government effort.
Absolutely.
And nobody voted for any of this. But if you really want to understand why they're doing this, you can have a look at this video where we predicted 2 years ago where the governments in the West would take away our freedoms online. In the video, we'll lay out exactly what you can do about all of this. So check out this video right here about 1984 now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a great video. Yeah, it's, people just don't realize it. And this video only has 350,000 views. I bet you none of them are in the UK. Crazy, man, crazy.